Today I'm going to be running through the best attachments for every operator in Rainbow Six Siege. These are the best attachments in my opinion. However, if you do have any recommendations, you can always drop them down in the comment section below. If you do enjoy the video, please leave a like, it would be greatly appreciated. Can we aim for 2021 likes? If you haven't already joined the Discord, be sure to click the link down in the video description. You can share your own clips as well as finding potential teammates. I will have a recoil guide up on the Bearing 9 and the SMG 12 very soon, so keep an eye out for that. But with the release of Operation High Calibre, the speed at which the angle grip aims down sight was reduced by 20%. After comparing this to the vertical grip, I believe it's now better to run vertical on most weapons as it provides better recoil stability, although I do still run angled on a few weapons for sensitivity reasons. For pistols and DMRs, I'd recommend running muzzle brake as it dramatically reduces the vertical kick. I also tend to have a laser equipped to every pistol as it does increase the hipfire accuracy, which in certain situations could result in a lucky headshot. But before we get into the video, a quick word from our sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. I've personally been using mine for over a year now and definitely prefer it over my previous wallets. And with over 40,000 5-star reviews, it would appear I'm not the only one. They're small, light, and made with RFID blocking technology, which is one of my favorite features, as unfortunately it's now possible for people to steal your data just by walking past you in the street. The Ridge Wallet comes in over 30 colors and styles, ranging from burnt titanium to 18 karat gold. They can hold up to 12 cards whilst having room for cash, and the Ridge team are so confident that you'll like it, they'll let you test drive one for 45 days. You can send it back for a full refund if you don't love it. Head over to ridge.com using the link down in the video description and use the code Ebyte at checkout for 10% off your order. Big thanks again to Ridge for sponsoring this video and helping to support the channel. Enjoy. So starting on attack with Sledge, on his L85 I use a 1.5 times flash hider and vertical grip. For Thatcher's AR-33 I use a 1.5 times muzzle brake and vertical grip. On his L85 I use a holographic compensator and vertical grip. For Ash, on her G36C I use a 1.5 times flash hider and angle grip. On her R4C I use a holographic flash hider and vertical grip. For Thermite, on his 5.56 I use holographic compensator and vertical grip. For Twitch's F2 I use a 1.5 times with muzzle brake and vertical grip. On Montaigne I use the P9 with muzzle brake and laser. On Glaz I use red dot and muzzle brake. On Fuse, on his LMG I use 1.5 times scope suppressor and vertical grip. On his AK-12 I use a 2 times scope with flash hider and vertical. On Blitz again it's a pistol, the P12 with muzzle brake and laser. On IQ, on her AUG A2 I used a 2.5 times, so ACOG and flash hider. On the 5.52 Commando I use a 1.5 times flash hider and vertical grip. On the G8 I use a holographic flash hider and angle grip. On Buck, on his C8 I use a 1.5 times scope, muzzle brake and laser. On Blackbeard, on his MK17 I use a 1.5 times scope, muzzle brake and angle grip. For Capitao, on his Para I use a 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical. On the Banas Type 89 I use a 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical grip. And on her Bearing I use a holographic flash hider and laser. On Jackal's C7E I use a 2 times scope, flash hider and vertical grip. On the PDW I use 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical. On Ying I use reflex, flash hider and vertical. For Sophia, on her LMG I use 2 times compensator and vertical. And on her M762 I use 2 times compensator and vertical grip. For Dokubi, on her DMR I use 3 times scope, muzzle brake and vertical. On Lion I use 2 times scope, compensator and angle grip. For Finca, on her Spear I use a 2 times scope, suppressor and vertical. If you don't use suppressor I'd recommend running flash. Same with the LMG, I use 1.5 times suppressor and vertical grip. I just like the suppressor. On Maverick, on his M4, I used the 1.5 times scope, muzzle brake and vertical grip. On Nomad, on our AK-74, I use 1.5 times scope and flash hider. On our ARX, I use it 2 times and flash hider. For Gridlock, on our F90, I use it 2 times scope, flash hider and vertical grip. On Knock, on our FMG9, I use 1.5 times scope and suppressor. Amru G8, so it's just holographic, flash hider and angle grip. On Kali, no attachments. Yana, I use the ARX with 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical. On Ace, again AK-12, 2 times flash hider and vertical. Zero on the SC3000K, 2 times scope, flash hider and vertical. And on his MP7, 1.5 times scope and compensator. On Flores' AR-33, I use a 1.5 times scope, muzzle brake and vertical grip. And on Osa, on our 5.56, holographic, compensator and vertical grip. And on our PDW9, 1.5 times scope, flash hider and again vertical grip. Moving on to the defenders. For Smoke, on his FMG9, I have the 1.5 times and flash hider. Shotgun, I either run reflex or no sight and laser. SMG11, holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. For Mute, I run the exact same. MP5K is 1.5 times and flash hider. Shotgun and SMG are the same. Castle, on his UMP45, I use 1.5 times with flash hider and vertical grip. And for Pulse, I use holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. On Doc, on his MP5, I use 1.5 times flash hider and vertical. And on the P90, I use 1.5 times and flash hider. For Rook, same P90 setup. On the MP5, I run the 2 times muzzle brake and laser. On Capcan, on the 9X, I use 1.5 times compensator and angle grip. Tachanka, on his 9X, I use the reflex, compensator and angled. Jaeger, on his carbine, I use a holographic, muzzle brake and vertical grip. On Bandit's MP7, I use a holographic and compensator. On Frost's 9mm, I use reflex, extended barrel and angle grip. On Valkyrie's MPX, I use red dot, flash hider and vertical grip. On Kavira's M12, I use holographic and flash hider. For Echo, on his MP5, I use a 1.5 times and vertical grip. On Mir's Vector, I use holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. On Legion's T5 SMG, I use holographic and flash hider. On LS Scorpion, I use reflex, compensator and vertical grip. On the Shotgun, reflex, extended barrel, vertical grip and laser. Vigil, on this K1A, I use holographic, compensator and vertical grip. For the SMG-12, I use holographic, vertical grip and laser. On Maestro, on this Alda, I use holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. On Alibi's MX, I use 1.5 times flash hider and vertical grip. On Clash, I use the SPS MG9, which is just flash hider and laser. On Cade's AUG, I use the 1.5 times flash hider and vertical grip. On Mozzie's Commando, I use holographic, compensator and vertical grip. And on the P10, I use 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical grip. On Warden's MPX, I use 1.5 times scope, flash hider and vertical grip. On Goyo, on his Vector, I use holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. On Wamai's AUG 2, reflex and flash hider. On the MP5K, 1.5 times scope and flash hider. On Oryx's T5 SMG, 1.5 times scope and flash hider. On Melusi, holographic, flash hider and vertical grip. On a Rooney, on the P10 Roni, holographic, extended barrel and angle grip. On Thunderbird, on her Spear, red dot, flash hider and vertical grip. On Thorn, on the UZK, red dot, flash hider and vertical grip. Hopefully you found this attachment guide useful. If you did, please leave a like. If you happen to have any further questions, please leave them down in the comment section below and I'll try my very best to respond to each one. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure to do so. Keep up to date with all of my latest videos. This is Ebyte and I shall see you in my next video.
table.